Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to cover a hot topic, sexual market value. What it is, why it's important, and why most men decline, and how, by understanding it, you can use it to your advantage to be the best version of yourself and not fall down to the feminizing narrative of most men decline after 30. What is it? Sexual market value is basically a term used to describe what your value is in the dating space. And this is super important for men to understand because most men do not know their worth. And when you don't know your worth, you start acting accordingly. You don't walk around with confidence. You don't have that aura. And people can smell that. And I'm not just talking about women and dating. I'm talking about you being the best version of yourself to carry yourself within business, within your family, for your children. It's not just about whether you're single or not. Now, this sexual market value that you have is valued over a significant amount of things. We've got your financial resources, your network, your confidence, your mental stability, how sure of yourself you are, and how physically fit and capable you are as a man. Now, every single one of those things that I mentioned, what do they take? Time. They all take time. Making money in business takes time. Learning to understand who you are takes time. Acquiring more resources takes time. Being a man of value, being a man of status takes time. Why is that important for you to understand? Because most men think that the decline happens after 30. I used to think that shit. I used to think when I was 20 years old that when I magically hit 30, my life was over. I don't know how, why, I don't get it. I can't even explain it. It was just something that was just ingrained in me. Then I got to 30 and I was like, what the fuck? If I compare myself from 30 to 20, I'm way more fitter, I'm way stronger, I'm way more put together, way better versed in business. I know who I am, I'm so much sure of myself, I've got a lot more resources. And then I start to think, well, if that's comparing 30 to 20, what am I going to do when I compare 30 to 40? And started making sense to me that as we get older as men, we only improve, providing that we take care of those qualities. Now, when you look up the science behind the SMV, men are usually peaking from 35, they say to about 40, 41, but honestly, I genuinely think that if you take care of yourself the right way, you can go up until you're 50, and they will be your peak years. 35 to 50. That is super important for you to understand for a shit ton of factors. Firstly, if you're navigating your way through life as a man and you're making decisions based on who you're going to marry when you're in your 20s because you think you're at your peak then you will be heavily mistaken. Because I would much rather be selecting a woman in which I'm going to marry and choose that I'm going to love her for the rest of my life when I'm in these years, because now I'm up at the top of the food chain. I've got more money, I'm sure of myself, I've got my business. I'm not in the weaker position. I have now a hell of a lot more life experience, so I can pick and choose who's going to be the right girl to take my last name. I can assure you, me right now at 34 years old is way more mature with women than what I was 10 years ago. So I have a greater probability of making the right choice for the person who I'm going to marry for the rest of my life now than what I did 10 years ago. This is important for you to understand, because if you don't understand your value as a man, then you are going to just assume that you're going to decline. Now, don't get me wrong, most men do decline. And why do they decline? Well, typically it's because they've fallen to the narrative of it just gets harder as I get older. Typically, they've fallen into a relationship. Typically, that relationship softens them because they're now hanging around women and hanging around babies, and then that feminizes their beliefs and their values, and then slowly over time, these men just become fucking pussies. Think about men that all go through divorces or breakups in general. What's the number one thing that they do immediately after the breakup? They go to the gym. Why do you think that might be the case? Have you ever actually thought about that? Let me explain to you. It's because they want to increase their sexual market value, because they're now in the dating space and they think, shit, I've lost my woman, now I need to acquire another one. I'm looking at myself and my value is quite low. Super low, in fact. Now, this isn't just important for people that are single and are trying to go pick up chicks. This is equally, if not more important, to people that are married, in relationships, and the ones that have children. Because your SMV, if you are in business, is going to be correlated to how your employees treat you, how much your business grows. Because that man with confidence, that man with network, that man with status, that man that is physically put together is going to be able to lead his company to the next level. That same man is going to be able to lead his wife into a fulfilling relationship. That man as well is also going to be a super important role model for his children. Children these days are distracted heavily. They've got YouTubers, Instagrammers, this, that, all these potential role models, teachers in their school, all these potential other role models that could pave the way of their thinking as they grow older. Now, if you as a man are happy with other people in this world having a greater influence over your children than you, then that's a sad fucking day. But if you are not happy with that, it is in your best interest to understand what SMV is, because it is super important for you. Otherwise, the relationship you're going to have with your children is going to diminish, and everything that you say to your children is not going to have the same effect. I have a godson. I don't have children, but I have a godson. And when I didn't have my godson, but when I baptized my godson in the Orthodox Church, that was a pivotal day for me, because that was a day that I bear responsibility for another child. In fact, he's not even my child, so I would argue it's probably even, I'm not going to argue that, but it's pretty damn responsible. But the point I'm trying to make is that day changed everything for me, because I knew that if I want to be the best role model for my godson, under the oath of God, I better make sure that my SMV is at its highest. Otherwise, he's not going to listen to me. He's not going to look at me and go, oh, no, Chris, yeah, that's right. I want to do everything in my power to be the best version of myself. So he has influential male role models around him that he can mimic and learn off, so he can become the best version of himself. Now, that would never happen if I was still caught up in the narrative that it's all over after 30, would it? Because if I believed that it was all over after 30, then I probably still wouldn't be in shape. I wouldn't be taking care of my health. I wouldn't be moving up the ranks within business year after year after year and becoming more sure of myself. So understanding SMV is probably the greatest asset that you can have as a man. The greatest. Because without a thorough understanding of what it is, you'll never be able to navigate through this world. You'll never have the confidence that you have. And if you do not have a high SMV and you are in your early 30s, even if you are 35, don't stress. Because you got years ahead of you to compound and compound and compound. Einstein said it the best. The eighth wonder of the world is compounding. Compound, compound, compound. When you got more years behind you, that's more years in the gym, you're going to be stronger. More years of wisdom, you're going to be wiser. More years of dating, you're going to understand women more. More years of business, you're going to understand customers, clients, how to deal with all that sort of bullshit. That's when you start to peak as a man. And once I understood the concept of a man's sexual market value only increases with age, my whole mindset shifted. The way I carried myself, the way I walked around. I knew I had time on my hands. I didn't rush things. I started thinking long term because I thought to myself, well, if I've got time on my hands, I don't need to quickly do things now. And when you have a long-term mindset, you start thinking clearer, you start making better decisions, and everything in your life starts to advance. So understand the SMV. It is the most important thing and one of the hot topics that I speak to about with all my one-to-one coaching clients. Because without a thorough understanding of that, you will never know the path in which you are stepping into as a man. And if you don't understand the path in which you're going to step into, it's impossible for you to set long-term achievable goals if you think it's all downhill. Guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, there's a link in the description for you to book in a call. Book in a call. Let's have a chat. We'll see if you're a good fit for the program. That's all I've got for today. SMV. Run through this video a couple of times. I look forward to hearing you on the call. Until next time, boys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.